Greetings from the not so secret lair here in San Diego, California, a place where I work on gear over there and sometimes train people here and outside. I'm going to start doing a rough cut series on sword fighting, and it's just going to be straight up short little snippets of information so you can easily find it later or refer people to. And as with anything, if it makes sense to you, great. If it doesn't, just throw it out. You know, I don't care. I'm just here to try to pass on information and maybe help you out a little bit. So the very first thing we're going to start with, and it seems trivial, but it's not. We're going to talk about really quick here the elements of basically of a sword, and then how to hold the sword. So first of all, you got a sword. Let's say this tourney bar here, which comes from Europe, is a sport sword from events out there. No actual real edge on it. So here you have a typical sword used for sport activities. You have your blade, right? And you can see this grooved area through all this rust here. That's called a fuller. It's often used to lighten up a sword. But here's the blade from this section forward. Then you have the hilt, what they call the hilt. Now, depending on who you ask, the hilt will often be the handle, it'll be the guard, and to a lot of people it'll be like the whole section. The guard, the handle, and the pommel. So we got the hilt and we got the blade. So you have the guard. Obviously this is an area that acts to protect your hand from incoming strikes. And it also acts as a stopgap for your hand as well. Like especially on powerful thrusts and things like that, your hand won't slide any further forward. But for the most part, you use it as an anchoring point for the top of the hand. You hold it about up there. And it protects your hand as you're making your blocks. Blades come down, boom, and you catch it along the blade, it slides and it stops right there. Then you got the handle or the grip, aka the grip. And I prefer the simpler the better. It's really easy. Obviously you hold your hand here. This is where you hold your hand. Now, after that you have the pommel, which is the back of the sword. And that appears on a lot of weapons, mostly broadswords and things like that. Later centuries when they have basket hilts and sabers especially, you won't really have much of a counterweight on it at all. Now, it's a counterweight. It can sometimes be used in close quarter, CQB, to pound people in the face. But for the most part, it's just there. Once again, it's a stop grip for your hand and as a counterweight. So the heavier it is relative to the blade, the faster it helps make the weapon move, but it increases the overall weight of the weapon. Like this one's not bad. This one's pretty beefy, but it does move the center of mass further down here. So strikes with the blade actually don't necessarily, they strike a little faster, but not with the same mass. So, but you got the blade, got the guard, got the grip, got the pommel, right? So let's jump really quick here into how to hold it. First of all, you saw me holding it obviously a few seconds ago. When I hold a one-handed sword, if you don't know what you're doing, a lot of times people will hold it right here or in the middle. Really what you want to do is you want to socket your hand right up against this top guard. It provides the better steadying and stable grip to the weapon. And you want to hold it in this fashion right here. So I'll hold it up here and you can see that. So the weapon is here, socketed in the crotch of the thumb, and for the most part in this section right here of the hand, right in here along that knuckle right there, that one that's pointing most up. This is where you want this grip to sit here, and then this comes down, and for the most part it sits right underneath this knuckle right there. See that guy right there? Socket's right in there. You'll shift your hand around and figure it out for yourself, but you want it to be about like that. Socketed in between this top knuckle here and the web of your hand there. Just get it nice and comfortable. The back of it will sit against normally the meat of your thumb, the crotch of the thumb there. If you work with your hands a lot like me, you'll have like an overdeveloped chunk of flesh there, and that helps absorb a little bit of the impact there. So the big reason why you want to hold the sword in this fashion is your arm is designed to exert and resist force in that direction. Your muscles are attached along, essentially along this plane here, this whole length of the arm. This is the plane that your body is designed to exert force and resist force along. Doesn't matter what your hand position ends up being, is you still have to follow the planar mechanics of your physiology, of your body. So force is designed to be delivered through this part, bicep on the return, tricep on the extension. And your elbow joint, it doesn't magically bend to the side here. You can't, it doesn't bend to the side. It just bends up and down. The only way it bends across is if you actually move it out and then it bends across, right? But it's still maintaining that particular plane. So, and then down into the hand is connected to the forearm. And the forearm, the bones actually here just rotate along with the wrist. So you want to hold your weapon in line with the bones at the back of your hand and to keep it in proper alignment with your forearm bones and your musculature and bones of your upper arm, so that you can issue forth the maximum amount of force along this particular plane. And when somebody strikes at you, you can block along that and resist. If you hold it flat, it just flops right back. If you hold your weapon to the side, like this, people often, they'll kick the blade a little bit to the side or whatever when they cheat their shots, and they wonder why it doesn't strike with enough force. It's because the alignment on the hand. Try to maintain it. Even when you're going for a really cool offside strike, try to work that flexibility into the wrist versus shifting the blade in your hand. It's gonna strike harder. It's gonna be more solid in your hand. Plus you're gonna be instantly ready for the return to that side versus I'm gonna shift it in my hand, then I'm gonna come back this way. I either strike with it with that shift, which still doesn't hit as hard, or I have to shift my hand back. So those are the parts of the sword. You hold it between this second knuckle, essentially on your hand, and the crotch of your thumb. You saddle it right in there, get it nice and comfortable. Don't rotate it this way or that way during your strikes or during your blocks. If you hold it like this and you learn and build wrist flexibility, a strong yet supple grip, don't death grip it, you'll be able to strike harder with the weapon and you'll be able to block more solid with it as well. So that's real basic stuff, but everybody's got to start somewhere. The very first thing you want to do is you want to know, hey, what is a sword? Pointy end goes in the bad guy, right? Well, no, not in a lot of our sports. You're not supposed to stab them with this. But in any case, it's the idea. This goes to enemy. This goes to you. And hold it properly. But once again, don't death grip it. Don't hold on it for dear life. For the most part, you just want to maintain that control with these top finger and thumb, or maybe two fingers and thumb. You can actually get to the point where you kind of a lot of times, my grip on my swords, even when I'm fighting, a lot of times are loose like this. And I use this back fingers as triggers and as controllers for this weapon. So don't death grip it. Don't white knuckle this thing, because you're not going to be able to actually reach out. You gotta soften it up in order to get extension, and you're going to just tire yourself out. So there you go. A basic anatomy of the sword and how to hold it, and we'll see what we have in the next video.